This is the Maton Guitar Factory in Box Hill in Melbourne's eastern suburbs. It is Australia's largest quality guitar manufacturer, a thriving business, and the continuation of one man's dream, the late Bill May, whose photo proudly adorns the walls of the foyer.
He was a musician, played guitar, played bass, was very interested in music.
Thanks to this archival family film, he can still tell us his story.
When did you make that one?
Oh dear, this was made in around about early 1930s. I'd probably be around about 17 at the time.
Really? That was your first guitar, was it?
Well, it was the first reasonable guitar because it was made for a particular purpose for a radio show we were doing, and fortunately we won. And this was a guitar that was used in it.
You've had it all these years? Haven't you?
Oh yeah, it's kept it all these years. It's been restored a little, but it's still kept all right.
More than 70 years on, that same guitar, still playable, is on display at Maton's premises. The teenage furniture-making apprentice wanted to build more, using Australian timbers. Bill May then married a young woman called Vera and became a woodwork teacher. But Bill still wanted to make guitars, and his lifelong partner Vera encouraged him to follow his dream.
I said to him if he really meant he wanted to do it, he had to do it pretty soon or it would be too late. So he decided to take the chance and give it a go, as the Australian says.
Bill May then set out on a journey to find and reproduce what he was seeking, the special May tone, which gave the company its brand name, Maton.
Well, I got started by resigning from the education department, pushing a small motor car out of a garage and started work there.
And you set up your first plant in the garage?
That's right. No money, of course. That wasn't the point. It was just the keen desire, and what I didn't have, well, we made out of bits and pieces of metal and odd things.
Because I can remember us going off buying wood and me nursing Susan in the car and the wood being strapped on the side of our little car. In fact, when we first started out, money was so short that quite often the playing he did kept us going.
Times must have been very tough for them financially. He just played on weekends at night and worked during the day. So, and buying, it was very difficult to acquire wood and all the necessary things he needed. So it was a very hard times for him.
Well, when I set Maton up, I had a very ambitious mind, was to make guitars that were as good as anything else in the world, which was laughable then by anybody in Australia.
Bill and Vera May soon realised the company had outgrown the tiny garage behind their home and it needed to expand. Maton's first premises for serious guitar production was 323 Canterbury Road, Canterbury. A big gamble at the time.
Yes, it took us quite a while to get the factory built. We had to get a special permit, and that took a while too. But eventually we did, and we thought it was pretty good. We got it built, only small, but we thought it was wonderful.
My brother Reg came with me, and he was a qualified machinist, a wood machinist, and of course we had the combination there.
Wow.
We had someone who had an idea of how we could go into production with things, and I had the ideas of design. I'd already studied design and was qualified in it through the education department. I was a craftsman and also had the magic sound that you need if you want to become a musician or even want to make instruments. Wow. You've got to know the sound.
Acquiring staff had to be very gradual because you couldn't find anybody who was experienced in making instruments. You had to teach them. I just don't quite know how we got them. But I think after we got a couple, there was word of mouth, you know, that people came and applied. because they liked the idea of making instruments.
I met Bill May when I came out from England in 1966. I joined the company about 2 days after I was a very green pommy coming out from England, and I started at Maton the same week I came out here, and I met him at the factory, and I didn't know who he was, and all I knew was this man in a grey coat walking around. And it was about 3 weeks before someone finally said, "Oh, that's the boss," because he always has hands on, and very casual here in Australia compared with England. In England, you call everyone sir. Here, that was Bill. I didn't know, and he was always doing something, you know. So that's how I met him, and I got to know him, and I worked for him for 20 years, with him for 20 years.
Big companies in Melbourne and Sydney wanted us to make very cheap guitars so that they could get a big turnover. But we couldn't do it. And even when we made a guitar that we called the Alva for quite a while, we had to finally stop making that, because the staff we had trained couldn't do anything but do it right and take a good deal of time. So those Alva guitars just had to be abandoned.
The company had ups and downs, establishing itself in a fiercely competitive market. Bill concentrated on quality control on the factory floor. Vera used her business skills to keep the books balanced. Both roles were difficult and challenging.
Yes, somebody had to watch the money a little bit, big bit actually. But Bill was the dreamer, and he managed to persuade other people to go along with him in his dream, and that was a big help.
He was a very gentle man, Bill. He was one of the most gentle men I've ever met. I don't think I ever saw him raise his voice about anything. A very philosophical man too.
Maton's reputation began to spread, with high-profile performers preferring the locally made instrument. Sales began to increase, and once more the company needed to expand. Bill and Vera May, having devoted their lives to building up this business, were now ready to hand over the reins to daughter Linda and husband Neville Kitchen.
Linda's dad was getting to the stage where he was considering retiring, and he asked me whether I'd be interested in, joining the company. And after teaching for 20 years, I thought, well, why not? And so I resigned from the education department and came to join Maton in, I think it was 1980. And I stayed there, Bill and Vera were still working there for probably 3 years after that. So I was there while they were there, and then they both retired, and then Linda and I, took over from there. I've often said before that a key man business like this, which depended so much on one individual, often when that individual retired or left, the company often floundered. But I think because of the way Bill set it up in terms of the infrastructure and the jigs and all that, and the staff obviously, it was a relatively easy thing for us to jump that generation gap, so we did.
I just see that we were the founders of it. We took it to one level, and then it needed the next generation to lift it to the next level. And we were lucky that that happened, because it doesn't always.
The move to the Bayswater factory was to answer an increased customer demand. By now, Maton's reputation as a fine instrument had gained so much momentum for both its acoustic and its solid electric guitars. The company quickly outgrew the Bayswater factory. This meant another move to bigger and better premises in Box Hill, officially opened on the 9th of April 2003. The move has really paid off, both for increased production and quality control. Someone who's had a long association with Maton is the internationally renowned guitarist Tommy Emmanuel. He says the Box Hill factory is truly a remarkable development for the company.
It's really grown into something incredible. You walk around this place and wow, it fills my soul to walk around here.
Ah, well, I often think of how we started and I contrast it with what it's like now. You know, it's incredible. They're making what they recognise themselves as a quality product. People take pride in that, I think. Gives them pride within themselves.
I love it. It's the best place I've worked. Love the team. The team here, we all work together. Everyone puts in 100%. It's great.
So that's the Maton guitar story. The creation of one man from such humble beginnings, which has affected so many lives. What would Bill May think of it now?
He'd be thrilled because his main ambition was to build an international guitar, and for us to be now exporting and having a bit of profile, that's what he was always wanted to do, so he'd be thrilled.
Bill always felt it wasn't just his dream, it was an Australian dream, because the people who worked with him were so much part of it and very important. So not just his dream, he doesn't like it seen as that, ever did. He wanted it to be an Australian dream and an Australian accomplishment.
And it is.
And it is.